Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited tonight to have Deborah Offenhauser here. I first saw her on Facebook a couple of years ago, I think, and she has this wonderful um, thing on Facebook where she promotes all these wonderful, fun kinds of cartoons and things. And I didn't realize she was also a composer and a musician. And when I found out, I said, "Oh my God!" I love her sense of humor, and B, I started to listen to all her music and said she is amazing. So I want to introduce her to you tonight. Deb, thank you so much for joining.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Andrew.
Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a world-renowned pianist and composer with more than 30 years as a professional entertainer and recording artist. She's performed on stage with artists such as Isola Jones, the Four Lads, the Moody Blues, one of my favorite bands, the Diamonds, Frankie Laine, and many more. And her music has been performed on TV shows including Madam Secretary, The Big Bang Theory, and Desperate Housewives. And between my wife and I, we love all those shows. So very exciting. That's amazing. So thank you for joining. We have so much to go through tonight. But I want to make sure we also have time to talk about you and your life and how you got into music in the first place. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Were you exposed to music when you were quite young, or what was your seminal moment where you said, I love music?
Yeah, I had three older brothers, and they were kind of forced to take piano lessons, and they didn't really take to it. But I would have my older brother Timmy teach me his lesson, and when the teacher came to the door, she thought it was Timmy practicing for his lesson, and my mom said, "No, that's Debbie." She goes, "Okay, she's ready. She's ready for lessons. I'll teach her." And then the rest is history because I love to play. I love to
Yeah,
play. I didn't like to practice. I did not like to practice, but
that
I love to play.
that is interesting. So you played at a pretty young age, and then how did it progress through school? I mean, did you start to play, for little school bands and things like that, or recitals? I'm assuming for those kinds of things. And
Sure. And we switched teachers at a certain point, and she was real big on competitions.
ah,
So it seemed like I was learning and memorizing pieces to play with the Junior Youth Symphony, a concerto movement that I had to
yeah,
learn and memorize by Beethoven or Mozart, that kind of a thing,
yeah.
plus recitals, plus other junior groups that would perform. And then on junior high, the choir teacher found out I played piano. So
Ah,
she's like, "Come here, my child." And then I would start accompanying the choir. And
mm.
then that continued. And then the band people found out I played so that I would accompany for solo and ensemble. And then that went into college. And interestingly, I did not get a music degree because I didn't think I could make a living with music. So I was going to be a history teacher.
Ah,
But
that is very
when
interesting. Yeah.
you
So
know, when I
at
went
what
for a
point did you
job,
start? Yeah. So what point did you start to dedicate your life to music? How did that work for
well,
you?
I mean, once you find out to go back to the teaching thing, when they ask you at the interview, it's like, so what sport do you coach? Like, I flunked cheerleading, so no, talent's right. This is it. So it was about then. Like, I guess I'm created to do music. So
Yeah.
in my younger years, I also learned the trade of piano tuning from Michigan State University.
Oh, really? Wow.
So that was very good. Made a lot of
Mm.
money doing that. So I did like a third of my income was piano tuning, uh, playing for churches or weddings,
Yeah.
and piano teaching.
Mm.
And then
Excellent.
that's all I've ever done, ever. It's
Now
just
tell us about your composing. That's a whole nother world. Yeah.
I think something I remember is the olden days with George Winston, who
Hmm.
was kind of one of the first New Age artists with Windham Hill.
Yes. Yeah. I remember him very well.
And
Yeah.
so I thought, well, I'll get his CD and I'm listening and I'm thinking, I can do that. This guy's just noodling. I mean, it was not Beethoven, it was Mozart. So I think among the first things that I ever did was, they all ended up being heartthrob type things. Oh,
Yeah.
I so and so left me or whatever, and then I would create something. But I didn't really record right away, but I would jot it down or maybe make a little handmade recording on a cassette player or something. And it wasn't until years later that I thought, well, maybe I could do something a little bit more professional. And I had some colleagues that's what they did. That's solely what they did. They didn't teach. They did perform, but and they said, you know what? let's make a record. We got a grand piano at our studio, and bless their hearts, they did that, and they gave me a connection to the person that got me eventually on TV. So
Wow.
I owe those friends a lot.
Oh my God, yeah. Now so you weren't taking the path to musicianship, but so does that mean that a lot of your composing and music theory and all that is kind of self-taught, or did you go back for some of that over time, or how did that work?
Yeah, I guess it's self-taught. I mean, I had a
Oh,
very, very good teacher that when I was young that gave me theory,
yeah,
and I knew how to write. I mean, write the physical notes. And of course,
right.
when you're composing back in the olden days of the 70s and 80s and 90s, there was no software, right? So everything was handwritten. But I think I would just self-educate. There might have been of some books that I read or something, and I would talk
Yeah.
to people and things like that. So
Oh,
you do
that's
what you
great.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have so much music to cover. Let's talk about this first one, Arizona Tans. Tell me something about that. And first of all, am I saying that right? Is it Tans?
Yeah, yeah. Tons
Tans.
is a
Tans.
European way of saying dance, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
the Arizona comes from a Facebook friend that I've never met wanted to make a video so that the actual name of the music piece is just Tons. But when he created a video for me, which I think is gorgeous, I named it Arizona Tons because he had all these photos of the great state of Arizona where I
Yeah.
reside, and so that was for Dwayne and his video. So Tons is just I don't know. It just takes you to another country. I think we had been to Morocco, perhaps, and those rhythms were in my head, and that's where this piece came from. Is from thinking
That's
about
wonderful.
Morocco.
And did he do the video for you, or how did this video come about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He loved the music. I forget now how he found it. Maybe I had posted a little photo montage with Tons on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then he said, I love making videos. Can I have my hand in it? I'm like, sure. And I loved what he did. And we posted it on YouTube, and I've left it up because it's just so pretty to look at as you listen.
Yeah. Here we go. This Arizona town is very nice. When I first saw that, my first thought was, if you didn't tell me that was Arizona, I was going to say, is that like Mars or something? That's such an unusual landscape. Or I almost thought it might have even been AI, but that's actually Arizona, right? That's actually,
It it is, yeah. Some of that is, I suspect, is southeastern part near New Mexico. It's the Chiricahua Mountains where Geronimo used to hang out and
oh,
hide.
really? Wow.
So there's a lot of cool rock formations in that area.
It,
Probably
it
that's where.
almost, yeah, it almost looks like something unnatural. It's amazing. So, do you know if it's lava flows? I'm just curious. I'm not sure what that is. That's,
And yes, we do have some areas with lava flows.
yeah,
Yes. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. We've had volcanoes. Yep.
hmm Well,
And
speaking
it was a
about
lake.
snow, huh?
The desert was a lake at one point, right? But how
Oh,
many
that's right.
bazillion years ago?
That's right. It's really now it's different to write for the piano than you have other instruments going on here. So, how did you get comfortable doing all of that kind of stuff? I mean, that's really beautiful the way
Okay,
you.
here's the fun part. So this album is my most highly produced album. It was recorded in LA,
Yeah.
and again, connections are important. So a music colleague had a record studio producer guy, super friendly, gave me a screaming deal because I knew his friend Warren, and so I had to bring the vision, but Jim said I have a colleague that's a sound designer.
Oh, okay.
And so, in addition to you saying you want the percussion or you want this, he may be able to introduce whether it's bird sounds or water. He may suggest things to
Yes.
enhance. So
Yeah.
I had that guy doing that kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and then I was writing out like the cello part, the violin part, the piano part,
Nice. Yeah.
and
Very
the
nice.
percussion guy. You just pretty much said here's the flavor I want,
Yeah.
and he came in a little bit after the fact, after we set it to a click track or something, and
Right.
he said his things. It was just a delight to do the whole
Oh my
album.
God, that must have been so much fun. Yeah. Now, by the way, I wanted to show people this list you have a list on your website of all these big list of songs here. This goes on for quite a while. All the sheet music that you have. Look at that. Wow. So people can buy the sheet music on your website. Oh, actually, this is
This
watchfiremusic.com for
is,
the
yeah,
yeah.
watchfiremusic.com.
Look
Yep,
at
just
all of
type
that.
in
Wow.
Offenhauser and that
Wow.
should
That
pop
is
up.
impressive. That is really nice. So the next thing I want to talk about is the choral fantasy. Tell us a little bit
Okay.
about that.
Yeah, so what we're watching took place a year ago, April,
hmm
and 4 months before that, in December, the conductor there, Patty, approached me to do this, and I said, well, Beethoven, she goes, oh, just scales and chords, scales and chords. Like, oh, okay. So I said yes without looking at the music.
Oh no!
And then she got the score and like, oh no. So but I figured if I agree to do it, I'm going to do it. So
Oh my
I
God,
had
yeah.
I started a real practicing regimen, and today this hour is going to be about this. Take a break because my hands are killing me, and then
Yeah.
maybe this hour later in the day is going to be about that. And I was in a mild state of panic for the first couple of months, just like, am I going to have the strength and stamina to do
Oh
this?
my God, there's some really
And
pyrotechnic parts in that too. Yeah.
it's just, yeah, and
Yeah.
then there's little things that people think, well, that was nothing, but actually it was something. So,
Mhm.
so anybody that's ever looked at the score would go, ooh, yeah.
Good. Well, so we can't play all 22 minutes, but we're going to play some of the beginning and then
Okay,
about 4 minutes of the choral part at the end. So this is
okay.
the beginning of it. It's like a whole piano solo. So, and then the choral part here, starting maybe about, let's see, maybe about here. Let's see. Wow. Oh my God. I got to tell you, those octave runs look dangerous. Like you could break a finger on those things. That's really, that's really something else. What a tour de force! Wow. Let's talk about the Deborah Offenhauser show. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm always looking for different things to do, and I was working with a regional agent backing different shows, cruise ship acts that would be on land for a month, let's say, touring around the state. And at one point, they needed me to not only a banjo player, but I think he only had like a 45-minute show, but they sold 75-minute shows. So they said, can you come up with something so, you're going to back him and then you're going to do your own thing. And that kind of got me started in having my own show, which eventually became 75 minutes. And I made it so maybe I could be on a cruise ship someday. It didn't work out, but I had charts for up to 18 pieces, that kind of a thing. But It was fun to be able to patter, have jokes and a little chat, and then you play something. And
yeah, that's great.
As you know, I like to chat, so it was a perfect fun.
I love it. All right, so this is some of the Deborah Offenhauser show.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present in concert Let's Go to the Movies with the wonderful piano stylings of Deborah Offenhauser.
I love to open all my shows with real peppy, snazzy, high-energy music. It just grabs the audience right away, and then my adrenaline's just running for the rest of the show. I always think of that consummate piano showman, Liberace. He'd love something like that.
In fact, I got this jacket that is a estate sale. But the earrings are mine.
Joanne Castle was somebody I grew up just admiring because she had that $1 million smile and she could play a million miles an hour all at the same time. And I wanted to grow up to be just like her, so I always put something in my show for Joanne Castle. Country has always been a favorite of mine, and it was the very first CD that I ever did. And so I just have to put it in every show. And besides, when I ask the audience about it, they're all like, yeah, we love country. I love lacing humor in my shows because it just lightens everything up and it kind of gets everybody ready for the next song, and it just adds a little personality, I think.
If I'd shot you when I wanted to, I'd be out by now. With all the stuff that always seems to be going on in Washington all the time, you'll love this. The oil is in Texas, but all the dipsticks are in D.C.
I just love sneaking in surprise visitors to my shows. And Carmen Miranda is one of those that pops up and everybody immediately knows who it is and they love watching her play the piano. Well, I was brought up with classical music, and I sort of have a heart for classical music. So every one of my shows, I put in a little touch of Rachmaninoff, which lends a lot of class. I think every audience loves to hear romantic piano music, no matter what show or movie it might be from. Opera has been popular ever since it came out 20 years ago. It's just a long-standing love relationship. Everybody loves anything to do with the Phantom. I include it in every show, and they love it when the lights flash and the organ starts playing. They want to hear more, more. always a favorite to put in the show. I mean, he's done everything from Rhapsody in Blue, which is classically oriented, to Strike Up the Band and Lady Be Good. I mean, it's just fascinating. And speaking of fascinating, that's what I do. I put fascinating rhythm in with I Got Rhythm. Flintstones got rhythm. We all got rhythm. I just have more fun with that piece than anything you can imagine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Deborah Offenhauser.
I love it. That's great. So it's like a promotional video that you had out there too, huh?
Right, that's exactly right. I
Yeah.
had DVDs made, but at a certain point, nobody's wanting DVDs or CDs, so you send them to the YouTube, and
Yeah.
I'm leaving it up. And I had so much fun because all these are all my own arrangements. I made everything up myself
Nice.
on there. And
Really?
this, I
Oh,
remember now, this was an actual show, sold out show for the venue, and this was with that banjo player that I mentioned
yeah.
that was touring. And so Doug Maddox is his name, and he had said, you should make a DVD, and why don't we do it where you're going to be playing live, have the guy come in, which was, I got the best one in town. And here's a little backstory for you. So he said, you need to have a little pattern, to introduce for the video. So I had written that all out, and Doug was off screen, and he knew I was kind of like, he's trying to get me to loosen up. So he's saying things on purpose to make me laugh, which you could see was succeeding, and sometimes it was rather colorful when I'm like, and we'd cut that out, right? But he got me bursting out laughing, and so I got relaxed, and then I would talk better, and then all the playing was actually 2 or 3 hours later when the show was that night.
Ah, yeah. Great playing. A lot of fun.
So
That's
thank
great.
you.
Now tell me about this next thing. This is a cute children's video. Caminandes?
Yeah.
How do you say that? Caminandes?
Yeah, Caminandes, friends. So I don't know, for a while I thought I would try to just rescore videos that were out there, and there was a group that said, here, you can do this one for free. They didn't charge you anything, and they gave you access to a video you could import and try your hand at what would I do for music.
Yeah.
And it would keep the sound effects on, like the train. I didn't have to do that,
Right.
but the rest of it, you came up with. So I had fun with that. It was just a
Yeah.
little.
Now who did the cartoony part of it? Who did the animation?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We have to look at the credits at the end, but it
Yeah,
was
it's
somebody,
really sweet.
whoever did this gave permission for people like myself.
Yeah.
I can't make any money off of it, of course, but I mean, I just,
No, yeah.
for student purposes,
It's
I
really
guess.
a lot of fun. It must have been fun
Yeah.
to do this too, I imagine. So
Yeah.
so here it is. It's just adorable. I got to tell you, that really put a tear to my eye. I got wrapped up in that story pretty well. That's very nice.
That was so cute. Yeah. So
Yeah,
obviously you could see at the end that they had taken out the original music. Of course, they left the credits in. So I really don't know what the original was. I thought I don't want to go online and hear what he did because that might affect me. So I
yeah,
just
yeah.
did my own thing and I added a few little sound effects extra, but basically it was mostly theirs.
Now, speaking of sound effects, you have a whole thing of cues and underscores. Let's talk about that. I'm going to show that to the screen now. You got a whole website. It's under
Yeah.
debspianoweb.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, just for a couple of years, I was just trying my hands at getting 1 or 2 minutes worth of, everything from, well, we'll see later, one called The Matrix, but uh, little short scenes. And that's what you would try your hand at. Like, what would I do for the music on that? So that's what the cues and underscores is about.
Yeah. And we're going to hear the gloaming in a few minutes, but maybe, let's see, we have one here, sea creatures. Tell me, how'd you go about doing this? Do you have a whole studio of electronic stuff as well then, or how do you do that?
Well, and so in this case, this is that same album that I had produced in LA.
Uh-huh.
So I went in with a vision and I'd written out the string parts, I had the piano parts, and then I talked to the percussionist, this is the mood I'm going for. And these
Uh-huh.
guys, they did their thing. I didn't have to write the percussion parts, for instance, because
Yeah, I love
it
it.
was
I love it.
wonderful to work. And these are all LA people, so we got the high people up on the food chain. It was just a
Yeah,
terrific.
that's
Yeah.
great. Now this next thing is signature, and we're just going to play the ending of it a little bit. What's the background on this one?
Okay, this was a University of Arizona student. It might have been an ASU student. Sorry, it might have
Yeah.
been Arizona State University. And so I went to the film department and I said, I'm just looking to get some more experience. Do you have any student films that need? I won't charge them anything. And
Yeah.
I ended up working with this young man. And he entered it in some contest, I think.
Yeah, and this is the ending, which is your writing, which is your
Uh-huh.
music right here. Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Okay, so in this case, that was all virtual. So that was some of my software.
Uh-huh.
So I composed and played and recorded all the parts at my home studio.
Nice. Now this is we're gonna play three things, and you gotta tell me how did you get let's see, we're gonna play some things from Madam Secretary, Desperate Housewives, and The Big Bang Theory. And how did you get these to happen? This is amazing.
Okay, well, in this case, some music colleagues said, check with her name actually was Susan Bader, and she's retired now, but she lived in New York City at the time in Manhattan, and had all these connections with CBS and beyond. And how she made her money was finding artists like myself, and then getting requests for, in the case of the three that we're going to hear, it all happened to be background piano music for, like, say, a restaurant scene, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. But
Yeah.
she had called once in a while. She'd call, and I remember one time she called and said, "We need the Vladimir Ribikov's Christmas tree waltz." So, like, I don't have that, but it caused me to eventually compose something called Valse Ruse, the
Oh,
Russian waltz,
yeah.
just so I could have a flavor of a Russian piano piece. Another time she needed something by Mozart, and I said, now if it's the middle second movement, that's the adagio, I can probably have that ready. How much time do we have? She goes, 5 o'clock today. Like, is that
Oh my
Hollywood
God.
time? Hollywood time or East Coast time where you're at? She goes, Hollywood time. So I knew I had 3 extra hours.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
I went
Wow.
online and I downloaded the PDF and I played through it for a couple of hours, recorded it, sent it to her, and it didn't get used, but the exercise was fantastic.
Wow. Wow.
So she was
Right
great.
now, this was used right in the
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, and
Yes.
we'll play a little bit of this one. Yeah, Carmel.
Okay. You bet.
Very nice. Very nice. Then you have another one here called Billy Boy, I believe, and this was featured in Desperate Housewives.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I imagine, Deb, this works both ways. All right, Deborah. I imagine you, on one hand, they might say, "I need something that's kind of romantic and nice." On the other hand, they might hear something and say, "We want to use that." Is it a little of both going on, or how does that generally work?
Yeah, like if you work with a company like taxi.com, they get clients directly from the film and TV industry, and they even give you reference tracks to listen to, so you can go, oh, that's definitely romantic.
Yeah.
So they can be pretty fussy. So I'm guessing they might just say something like background piano music, just something
Right.
very general. And the
Yeah.
story on this was the first TV show that hit for me, and I was able to watch it on maybe Hulu on the YouTube, right? Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And so I was listening, and it was a restaurant scene, and I heard about, I don't know, maybe 5-10 seconds max. I'm like, oh, there's my song. Well, then the characters started talking. I'm like, and then they dumped it down. I'm like, shh, I can't hear me. I can't hear me. But so I got paid for like 32 seconds, which
Yeah.
is actually good, but you can only hear maybe
Oh,
this
yeah.
much. But this is the way the industry goes. And
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Now this
one
next
that
one
was,
is from one of my favorite shows, The Big Bang Theory. This is called
yeah.
My Heart Is Yours. Any
Uh-huh.
special story about that one and how that happened?
Uh, no, it was just a surprise. I mean, the check came
Yeah.
in the mail. I'm like, what? When did this hit?
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, I sometimes I don't know till 6 months after the fact.
Oh my God, that's great. Now, all of these were just samples. The actual length of these go anywhere from 4 to 6 minutes, so they're pretty
Yeah.
substantial. Yeah. Now, I didn't know what the word gloaming was, so I
Oh
learned
yeah,
something.
it's very old fashioned from the
Yeah,
1800s.
gloaming. I love it. So, and so, tell me about this. You have basically a whole bunch of different soundscapes, and this is one of many of them. This is track 10. And so, what was the? How did you go about putting this together?
I don't remember what intrigued me on this, but sometimes I'll hear just a little motif of something, and then
Hmm.
that leads to something else, and I can
Yeah,
hear like I want this instrument, I want that instrument, and then between what I heard and what the sound designer helped me with, we came up with this very almost ethereal
yeah.
thing,
I love
gloaming.
this. Yeah. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is your Rosemont theme. Tell us something about that.
Yeah, the Rosemont theme. Now I just had lunch with her the other day. I have a friend that is an author, and she's had two of her books turned into Hallmark movies.
Nice.
And one book that, well before we ever knew she was going to become famous that way, the Rosemont series, she called it. I think she's got probably 10 books in the series at this point. And I thought, you know what? It's a very romantic type of a series. So I'll just come up with something, name it the Rosemont theme. And if she ever becomes famous, now it hasn't happened yet, but I haven't given up hope that Hallmark might go, I like that. Let's add that
Yeah,
in.
it's very nice. And here she is with you. So this is fun. Let
Yeah.
me share the screen here. Yeah, this is great. Here we go.
I'm author Barbara Hinsky, and we're here at the piano in my home today with Deborah Offenhauser, musician and composer of inspirational music. Deb has been a long-term friend, and we were having lunch recently. I told Deb about my dream to have the Rosemont series become a Hallmark TV series. And Deb said, well, Barb, you'll have to have theme music. TV series and movies always have theme music. Think Downton Abbey, Jaws, The Godfather.
There you
A
go.
few notes and you know what you've got. So Deb got busy and composed the Rosemont Prelude. It's lovely. It's available as a free gift for you through my website, and there's also an orchestral version available for purchase, and the sheet music is available as well.
Nice.
So Deb is here to play it for us today.
Thanks, Barb.
Very nice. I could definitely see that being a theme song. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that Soundscapes album from which we heard a couple of things on YouTube, it's the orchestral version on that. So it
Nice.
that just brings it up to another level because you got the strings, right? You got the
Oh my
orchestra.
God. Yeah. That must have been amazing. So
That was
tell me
fun.
a little bit about how you go about composing. When you compose that piece, uh, where you started with some very interesting starting idea, and then do you kind of like hum a melody in your head and figure out the chord, the chord progression, or do you do the chord progression first and then build the melody on top of that, or how do you go about doing it?
And it's different every time. Sometimes I hear things in my head and I have to go play it. Other times I sit down and I just start noodling, but I think generally about what am I composing about. So I had read a couple of her books and I knew the
Yeah.
characters. I knew there was love, but there was a little tension because there might be a murder somewhere.
Ah,
And,
okay.
you know,
Yeah.
so you've got a C chord against a D flat chord. You're like,
Yes, I noticed that. Yeah, it was very nice. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
so sometimes I just start let the right hand do something or left hand do something like, yeah, I could build, what can I add to that?
Mm,
And then I discard. If I don't like it, I just start from scratch and walk
yeah.
away. I never know.
And it's great too because you obviously have such great technique that you can just do about anything you want, which is wonderful. So it's
It,
great to hear
it,
that.
it helps to have practiced scales and chords when you were a kid.
Oh my God, yes. So now this next thing is very different. Haunting Matrix. Tell us something about that.
Okay, so then one year I took a course from Juilliard online, back when there was COVID and they did
Yeah.
a lot of things online, and that was how to score to film. And we got to work. We zoomed and probably a small class of 6 to 8 of us, and got to work with an instructor. And he gave us assignments, and he would give us the actual Matrix movie. Now it wouldn't be the whole thing. It might be like, here's a 5 minute scene or here's a 2 minute scene. And we ended up working on a dozen different movies, different styles and so forth. And this is one of my favorites where I had so much fun because it's science fiction, right? So
It
the
is a
sound.
lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah.
This is
Excellent.
one of my
So
favorites.
now, was this meant to be like part of the actual Matrix movie, like that kind of thing, or was it inspired by it? Kind of is what you're saying, or?
Well, yeah, I don't believe I would have been allowed to have shown the actual Matrix scene with my
Right,
music.
right.
I think there was copyright issues,
Yeah, yeah.
but I have it at home, so I can play that for myself and go, what was I doing? Oh yeah, I remember that scene. So unless you can have it in your head, you probably
Right,
don't know
right.
what she's
Well,
doing. But
it's quite fun. Here we go. Love it. Oh my God. Dad, what kind of system did you use for this? Is it an Apple system or what is it that you're
well,
composing on?
I've got a Mac computer, and then there's a digital audio workstation, a DAW, where I use something called Logic, and
Uh-huh.
then you buy different softwares to work with Logic. So
Yeah.
and so I have the keyboard off to the side here that I plug in, and I just start playing, and like, oh, let me try that with a water phone or something. That was kind of like one of the weird sounds.
Yeah.
Just try the orchestra sounds and go, what the heck is that? Oh, that would work good in that scene. And it's I mean, and the time involved to score just 2 minutes is amazing.
Oh
How
my
many
God.
hours it
Yes,
takes.
yes. I have so much respect for orchestrators that take, like, I'll have a musical idea and then they'll orchestrate it, and I go, it would take me a year to do that, you know. So
Yeah.
uh, now you also have a whole nother part of your repertoire, which is church music. Tell us about that. I'm going to show people there's actually four separate albums that I'm aware of, and maybe more. You got
Oh,
preludes, you got
yeah.
offertories.
So when I mean, I've been a church organist for decades, so I'm always involved. And I've when the COVID came and all the churches are closing down and they're zooming,
Yeah,
uh, there was a need for recorded music. So I checked with watchfiremusic.com and I said, I can get these out pretty quickly. And why don't I do an album of preludes, an album of offertories, and an album of postludes?
yeah,
And they sold like hotcakes. And ever since then, they've continued to sell because sometimes you're getting smaller churches that can't afford live musicians, perhaps,
right.
and so they rely on that. Even if they're not zooming, they like it, or people just like to listen. Period.
Yeah, I love this. And by the way, you got all these on. You have samples of each of these. We'll just play one of them just real quick. You can spend hours on this, listening to all this. It's just wonderful.
That
So this
that
was
next, I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say that next one, always remembered, always loved. A couple of weeks ago on Instagram, a guy from I think he said he's in southern India contacted me for permission to use that song in one of his indie videos,
Oh,
films that
no
he made.
kidding. Well,
He
we
said,
have
I'm
to
going
listen
to
to
put
some of
this
it.
in. So,
Let's listen to some. Yeah, this is great. Yes. You know, you have to be careful. I had someone that asked permission to use one of my songs, which goes on for about 3 minutes. And I said, sure, you can use it in your film. And the film went on, it's a little documentary, went on for 6 minutes. They cut the speed of the song in half. And so
oh,
it goes, it's like, oh my God, that is not my song anymore. I don't know what that was.
no. Oh, you just want to kill him. Like,
Oh
oh.
my God. Yeah, maybe they'll even listen to this. I don't know. But anyway, okay. So moving on. Now we have another thing called faith. Let's talk a little bit about that.
um, I was probably playing through hymns, to be honest with you, getting inspiration from various hymns.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I'm doing church music, faith is a good name for this. So I was trying to reach inside to, what do we draw on when we're troubled by anything? We have to draw on that inner faith to see us through.
Yes. So very nice. Wow. You know, some of those paintings I recognize, some I had no idea. They're just gorgeous. But yeah, the music goes so well with it. That's wonderful. Uh,
Yeah, thank you.
so the other thing we wanted to talk about just a little bit, did you do a whole Christmas album? Is that what you did? Or
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
that's wonderful.
I think I actually have two now, but this is probably from my earlier one.
I love the fact that I'm just going to do little snippets of it, but you have some really nice. I think this is just a sampler, right? You have some really nice takes on these songs. You know, we hear them so often, but you've done something really kind of fun with them, which is makes it very interesting. This is
Cool,
Steckaholic.
thanks.
There's another one I want to show too here. Wow, very nice.
I love that. So two things. One, I did that watercolor for the cover.
Oh, really? Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
my other little hobby is watercolor,
I did
so
not know that. Wow, that's very
I,
nice.
I did that one. And this
Yeah.
particular piece, a church in Oakland, this is probably about 8 years ago now, maybe 10, said they wanted to use it in their program, and because my husband had family not far from there, we
Ah,
went up in December when the concert was, and I got to hear their local musician play it. And that was a lot of fun to be.
wow. Now this is a sweet little piece called For Emily. Tell us about that.
Okay, a friend of mine had a her daughter passed years ago when the daughter was young, which
Ah,
had to be just totally heartbreaking.
oh my God.
And she was telling me about it, and I did this for her and in memory of her daughter Emily.
Very sweet. This is just an excerpt of it. Yeah, yeah, music's a powerful thing. We lost a friend recently, and I wrote a piece for her. It really helps, you know, deal with the pain, and also, I mean, the family appreciated it. There's something very healing about music that helps a lot. So that's just beautiful, absolutely
It
gorgeous.
does, yeah. Thank you. This was the software for this was called felted piano. That's why it's super soft, as
Yeah,
if everything had been dampened on the piano. So it's a kind of an ethereal sound, I suppose.
very nice. Now,
Thank
this
you.
next thing is called Last Fragments of the Dream.
Okay, so again, this was from a scene from a movie that I couldn't show,
Okay.
but it was an animated film that was kind of quirky, and then I think this was actually the latter part of it where the credits were. But I love the music.
Yeah. love the colors of that. The drops of sound. They really, oh my God, very nice. Very nice.
I used both ends of the keyboard, the lowest and the highest.
Yes.
And the film was there were a lot of tension in the film, and so this
You could
was sort of
definitely,
culminating in what it was about.
definitely can feel it. Okay. Now we have another thing here called In the Corner of My Heart. This is on your Butterflies album. Do you want to tell us anything about this one?
This, like all the pieces that got on TV, this is another one that I composed for some guy friend along the way, right?
Okay.
So this sort of didn't work out, but it was my little poem that I wrote, something along the lines of, in the corner of my heart, there will always be a part of you
Oh, that's
that,
very sweet. Very
that
sweet.
stays with me. So that's what I was thinking of when I wrote this one.
Yeah. I love it. Now we're
Thank
getting near the end. There's one final piece we're going to play, which is called Late July Breeze. But before we do that, I just want to say, do you have any advice for wannabe composers or people that are thinking about getting into the music field and that sort of thing?
Boy, it's changed so much, right? And
Yeah,
here I am, not trained like a lot of these kids coming up, but definitely do as much education as you can in as many forms. And
yeah,
I know I was blessed with working with musicians that if you're a nice person and you work hard and you have some talent,
yeah,
they will just back you all the time. I mean, I just never had an issue with anybody holding me back. They're always like, let
yeah,
me introduce you to so and so, you learn from them. Let me introduce you to so and so, you learn. So you just keep going, and it's a continual learning curve.
yeah.
And I composed stuff 30 years before they ever hit on TV. And I didn't even record them right away, but I composed them because that's what my heart said to do.
Yeah.
I just, and solo piano is a little bit different from maybe a full orchestra, but you start somewhere. I think maybe my very first one was a ragtime because that's what I played all the time, and
Oh,
it was a lot of fun, and so you never know,
yeah. Well, by
half
the
a
way,
decade.
we have kind of a window into your mind for when you talked about all those things on the Deborah show. But I'm curious, are there any specific influences that meant a lot to you? I mean, you pulled from so many different composers and resources, but I'm wondering maybe what some of your favorite ones are, if you have some favorites that you.
Um, I don't know. That's a good question. As a composer, I don't know because I listen to so many classical things, and I probably my most worn out CD is Gustav Holst's The Planets.
Oh, really? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that, and
Uh-huh.
I'm far from being an orchestrator by any means. I just sort of
Yeah.
throw in little things, but I hear things I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. And as
Yes.
far as playing the Joanne Castle, as I mentioned in my show, I loved her growing up because mom and dad would watch the Lawrence Welk show on Saturday nights, which I could care less about as a child. But they'd say, she's on. I knew that meant Joanne Castle, so I'd go in. I'd go, wow, the blonde bouffant hairdo and a sequin gown, and then she had that $1 million smile. And she always played a million miles an hour, and she
Wow.
wasn't looking. She wasn't looking at the keyboards or music. She just, like, how does she do that? So
By the
I
way, I
just,
wonder, is that her real name or was that a show name, Castle? Probably was a
I
show
don't
name,
know.
right? Yeah. I
I
should look
don't
her up.
know
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, this last
exactly.
piece is called Late July Breeze. You want to give us a little background on that before we play it?
I it was probably very hot here in Phoenix, and I needed something cool, so I came up with Late July Breeze.
I love it. Okay, so this is Late July Breeze. Wow. Lots of layers to that. I love that. It really is very interesting. Very
Thank you,
nice.
thank you.
Yeah. So speaking about Arizona, did you grow up there and spend your whole life there, or what's your story with Arizona?
No, I grew up in Michigan. Actually, Flint, home of leaded water, so
Oh,
it
right, right.
made it tough back then,
Oh
But
my God, yes.
I think my heart said I want to do something. I figured I was going to go to LA and get on a cruise ship or something, which didn't work out.
Hmm.
But I got a job on first on Mackinac Island at the Grand Hotel, which is between Michigan and Canada. And then when I was there, I heard about from some musician friends about Ritz-Carlton Naples. Then worked there. And while I was there, they said, Phoenix is opening a Ritz-Carlton. So I applied for music director. And
Ah,
I got that job, and that's how I came out to the valley here. And then
excellent.
I liked it, no
And the rest
snow to
is
shovel.
history, as they say. Yeah, that's
That's right.
wonderful. So what's next
Exactly.
for you? Do you have anything planned coming up? The next CD or
I,
concert
you
or
know, I did been kind of on hold because of husband passing and things. So I
Yes, and thank you
not,
for. I should say to people that we talked a while back, and then your husband passed, and obviously we had to wait a while. And thank you for that, and thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate that.
yeah,
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 yeah.
happy to
So
do that. I'm sure there'll be some lovely heartfelt music, and so I am now uh, wanting to get back into my music. So I'm sure I'll
yes,
be getting another album pretty soon.
absolutely. We look forward to listening to it. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Deborah, so much. This has been a lot of fun. I love
Thank you.
exploring all your music and encourage people to go to your website and go online and, of course, buy your sheet music too. It's just amazing.
That's right. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much. I appreciate your time, Andrew.
It was my pleasure. So you have a great week, and I look forward to hearing your next composition. It's going to be
I'll,
exciting, I'm sure. Okay.
I'll keep you posted again. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Okay.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining.